Hey everybody, I am Courtney. I am here tonight to talk crypto. And with me, I have our amazing team of remote viewers as well as our awesome technical analyst, Marty Hibbs. So, hi everybody. Hi guys. How we doing?
Hi, Courtney.
Great, Courtney.
Good. All right, we got the guys as far as I know are still blind to the target, right?
Yeah.
So they're waiting in suspense to find out what we have asked them to look at this week. So I am going to discuss the target, which is a little bit different than what we're in Daz Tony. He's like, when he hears the words, it's a little different. He's like, what have you made me view? All right, let's end the torture and see what we've got here. So tonight we are looking at Unis said Leo. Has anybody heard of that?
No, never heard of that.
All right. It's part of a project you probably have heard of, but it's a little something different. So there is our target ID. We asked the viewers to view this target over the next 2 years, look at its performance, and track that in charts and graphs. So what is this? It is the utility token that was launched by iFinex, which is the parent company of Bitfinex. So iFinex is registered in the British Virgin Islands, and Finex, I keep wanting to say finance, but it's Finex, is actually what we're going to be mostly dealing with here. So that was founded in 2012, and it was originally a peer-to-peer Bitcoin exchange. So later, as the platform sort of morphed and grew, it was designed to support all kinds of cryptocurrency trading and all kinds of other financial stuff. So they've got exchange trading, derivative products, over-the-counter markets, peer-to-peer, margin trading, and this has ended up being the world's second largest exchange in terms of the number of Bitcoin that is held in its digital wallet. So that's the main operational company that's going to be running this thing. And so this is a utility token that's on that network. So some key features that I thought were interesting about this project. Back in 2016, Bitfinex was involved in a major security breach. So we've got these two criminal masterminds here who stole about 72 million in Bitcoin from users' segregated wallets. Apparently, even the wallets that weren't like directly hacked had their balances reduced by 36%. They were given BFX tokens to kind of compensate for their losses, and then anybody who chose to keep that, they were later reimbursed within like 8 months of the full amount of their loss. Couple years ago, the U.S. Department of Justice actually apprehended, like I said, these two criminal masterminds, Ilya Lichtenstein and his wife, Heather Morgan. They were charged and detained, and they pled guilty to money laundering and conspiracy charges. Ilya got 5 years, and Heather got 18 months, which I don't quite know why the disparity in the sentencing, because when I look at these two, I just see her as the kind of girl who would probably have talked him into this, and then he gets the steeper sentence. But that's just my thinking on that. So. In 2017, Bitfinex experienced issues with their payment processor, and I guess they were having a lot of struggles with this, and they put a bunch of money into some Panamanian company called Crypto Capital, and then that money was apparently possibly seized by government authorities in different countries. So they were left with a shortfall to the tune of $850 million. So, in order to kind of rectify this shortfall, as they're calling it, they launched the Leo token. So, this came out in 2019, and it was launched as a private sale. So, they sold 1 billion Leo that were sold to investors in exchange for Tether. So, they raised about $1 billion for this project in 10 days. It is worth noting that Tether is also owned by the parent company, iFinex. They've had some troubles and they are working on expanding. So in 2021, they announced that they were having to pay a 1.5 million fine for the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. This related to some illegal off-exchange retail commodity transactions. That's a lot to say. And then Right now, they seem mostly focused on expansion. So they have got, since 2023, they've really been pushing this plan to open offices in El Salvador, issuing a volcano coin, and they seem to have a lot of energy put into that area. It is worth noting again, the leadership of Bitfinex and Tether are almost identical. Each of the four has just got one person who is slightly different, but our three main people are Giancarlo Devasi, Paolo Ardoino, and Claudia Ligorio. So those are the three main people who are behind both of these projects. So what does Leo do? It's a utility token. Again, like I said, it powers the community. Essentially, what this is doing is it offers some benefits. So, like reduction of taker fees, discounts on peer to peer lending, crypto withdrawal and deposit fee reductions. It's going to be issued on Ethereum blockchains and it does allow for cross chain conversions. The big thing to note about this project, because this was originally just designed to, kind of buy back or create money to fulfill that shortfall, the whole thing is that they're buying portions of it back every month and burning it in an aim to eventually remove all of the tokens in circulation. But in the meantime, what that does is create, a shrinking supply, which theoretically would, I would assume, drive the price up. And we can see chart wise, so they've listed as number 13 on CoinMarketCap, and they have been having a bit of a bump over the last few months. So, and yeah, we're trading at 981. So, Daz, how are you feeling about?
I'm actually shocked that is it position 30 on CoinMarketCap and I've never taken any notice of it.
I was kind of surprised when I saw this. I was like, why are we doing this? And but the more I kind of got into it, I could see some of the value elements of it. But initially, I was like, well, this is just kind of a utility token, but it does have some, I think, interest in that it's related to that really large exchange. So
It's a bit of a, like its namesake, is a bit of an anus or unus. Anus sounds a bit more appropriate, to be honest.
That's what I got out of it too.
You anus.
who wants to go first? Do we want to do? How about we start with
Get
that?
mine out of the way because
Oh, you want to do it? Like, yeah, Dick, why don't you go first? I think what was interesting was I think you did capture, like, especially like in that the utility element of it, like the gas fees and all that kind of stuff. That is its bread and butter functionality. So I think you picked up on a lot of the functionality part. And I know you stopped short of like you had kind of got a graphic of Sui. You were not the only one that happened to. So I do.
Well, Sui came to mind. I just kept thinking we should be remote viewing Sui. We haven't done that yet.
You were not the only one that happened to, Dick. So I definitely want to mention that because that came up in other sessions.
It would be a more useful target, I think. But yeah.
I'd like to say something here, Dick. I'm smiling because there's your disruption again that I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
No, that's going to be across all platforms when it happens, right? It's going to be, yeah.
Why don't we go up? Actually, we'll just go across. How about Naeem? You want to do yours next? Had you heard of this one before, or kind of a new project?
Never heard of it.
Yeah. I like the elements of the rebirth and the transformation. I think that you captured that nicely. So, Edward, you're next.
Okay, let's see what happened here.
So Edward saves the day in the remote viewing part.
A lot of good stuff in that session.
Yeah, that
Edward.
was a good session, Edward.
Got a lot of stuff related to the exchange nature, the financial stuff. How are you feeling about it?
I have seen this one because it's in the top 20. I've seen it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was connected to the Bitfinex and all that kind of stuff. I don't have too much of a feeling towards it one way or another. I really don't know anything about it other than what we just did in the debrief. But as far as the session goes, it looks like it's volatile for the next 6 months, but beyond that, it seemed like it kind of finds its place. Um, to be honest, it's just not something that I'm really drawn to. It could be great. It could make people quite a bit of money. I don't have any real feeling towards it one way or another. But I liked the session. The session was cool.
Yeah, I think you did great, and I liked the information about the rebrand and something that element of change because that's something that some of the other guys picked up on as well. So
Yeah.
definitely points of correlation that we're seeing on the sessions. So
Always a good thing.
nice job. Moving on to Sean. I thought that was a very interesting session, Sean. And
Yeah, it was. Usually the sessions that make no sense end up having the most interesting turns. We're like, whoa, and this one made no sense to me.
and it tied into what a lot of the other viewers were picking up.
Yeah,
And it is worth noting in this particular target, you did not necessarily get an overwhelming sense of evil, which
Yeah.
sometimes comes through your sessions.
well, so I tried an experiment with this target because I'm tired of getting just all this really doomsday-ish stuff. So I was like, I want to see through the eyes of somebody that's more favorable to cryptos, you know. So I put that as a self. Why did my hand just raise? It's weird. But I sort of self-tasked that I wanted to see this target through the eyes of someone more neutral or favorable on cryptos. I didn't get the creepy stuff. So
Nobody trapped in a spider web or being
Yeah.
tortured or anything. So no, that's good. Yeah, I really liked it. When I first saw your logo, I was like, holy crap. So I was like, that was really good. So nice job.
thank you.
Yeah. All right, Marty, do you want to tell us some info on the target?
Let me unmute myself. Yeah, it's there's not a lot to tell, but I will have a look at the target and show you what I've got. First thing that really caught my eye here, this is not a normal looking chart. And I'm looking at it going, wow, this is very unusual. This is what we kind of like to see sometimes when we're talking about like Bitcoin, where you come up to a certain area and instead of getting a proper correction, it wants to go sideways. Once it does it, you see there it just breaks out, goes to the next level. Now let me show you the day. That is the day chart. Look at this. It's very unusual how it goes up there and just kind of sticks to the roof. And what I did notice about these numbers, I just looked at them briefly. They line up with gematria. And first thing I noticed, like, what is, because they're very definitive. This bottom here, you see this one here looks out that it's like right 888, right in this area here. And, you know, in the eights, and this one here is like 3 3s, 3 3 3, that idea. Here we got 6 6, and here's 6. And those, of course, are very well-known gematria numbers. And then here you've got another one that's 8 again. And then finally, it doesn't take out the 10. It goes like 9 9 9. And so I just thought it was a bit weird that it did that, but it's a strong-looking chart. But I would say if I had to give you my 2 cents worth on it, it's not the time to buy it. We could have one more push, one of these.